Dipping. Let's go. Just in the nick of time. Got everything situated. Went to the bathroom. Everything's good to go. I'm ready to rock and roll. A lot of news today. Welcome, everybody, to the Eden Army podcast. I am your host tonight, Pete Robertucci. We do this little podcast every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you like and share all of that good stuff because it helps us get our word out, right? Like, share, subscribe, all that happy mumbo jumbo that Russ makes me do every evening, or I get scolded and yelled at. So he's like the older brother I never wanted, but there he is. Let's start off by thanking BSP and voiceover by Matt for your resubscription. We appreciate that. That continues to help us get the word out and makes this thing a little bit worthwhile. We're going to split the broadcast tonight because you guys voted on it, right? You voted on it last week. So we're going to split it back to the old ways. We're going to go on the communist channels until the news is done. And then we're going to go exclusively to kick.com. We're going to be doing our call-in segment there and go over a few other things that you're not going to want to miss. I promise you that, because that's where we cut loose, right? That's where we can, well, if Kick doesn't censor us like they did last week, which I'm sure they will, but you guys got a little out of hand last week. I got to tell you that. Tonight we're going to talk about Epstein and Trump. What does Biden's doctor have to say in front of Congress? Closed door hearing. ICE is under attack. This is a mouthful here. We're going to go over our Amazon Prime prepping picks and Antifa's training. Are you? That's what you need to ask yourself. Are you training? Because I promise you that they are training. And we're going to show you how much they're training. We're telling anybody who listens that this summer liberals are going to escalate their game, right? They're going to take it up a notch. That's what we're seeing right now. And some people are in the background just saying, I'm just going to wait till it goes kinetic. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait till everything goes kinetic. Okay. Well, on July 4th, 10 to 12 Antifa terrorists using guerrilla tactics set out to kill members of federal law enforcement agencies. Is that kinetic enough for you? Yeah, it's kinetic enough for me. They were well-armed, well-funded, and set out with a plan to murder as many ICE agents as they could. They set up a diversion to lure the agents out of their detention center using fireworks. When the agents came outside, they opened fire using AR-15s. One terrorist, and they're terrorists. I don't know why the news agencies not saying this. They are terrorists, domestic terrorists. In 2020, when Donald Trump lost the election, he told Joe Biden, he says, you need to keep an eye out for Antifa. You need to keep an eye out. They're very dangerous. He said Joe Biden ignored him. Well, Donald Trump, you're in office now. You're in office. Why are they not labeled domestic terrorists right now? Why not? So, one terrorist, Antifa terrorist, was killed, a 27-year-old with ties to Michigan and Texas. 3 officers were injured and are expected to make a full recovery. All the while, the rhetoric from the left remains the same. Some going as far as to blame ICE agents and the President of the United States. So you know now what the terrorists are willing to do. You understand now the tactics they are willing to use. In a little bit, I'm going to show you a video showing the FBI, one of the FBI's most wanted Antifa terrorists, allegedly made by a gentleman named Benjamin Sing Song. But first, who is Benjamin Song? Who is he? I'm going to tell you, in 2011 through 2016, he served as a U.S. Marine, discharged in 2016 under other than honorable circumstances. In 2020, he was arrested in Austin during a BLM Antifa riot. 2022, I'm going to show you that alleged video of him doing some training with a young man using some rifle tactics. We're going to show that video. Also in 2022, at an LGBTQ plus Sue, a family-friendly drag show in Dallas, journalist Taylor Hansen said he encountered Song, who was masked, armed, and defending that event alongside other Antifa members. So does this seem organized? Same guy with Antifa members, and our president's not saying this is an organized operation. In 2023, Song was named in a civil lawsuit filed against Christians who claimed they were attacked by him and other Antifa members in Fort Worth. Also in 2023, Hansen, the same reporter, reported again that he saw Song and other Antifa members. You see the coincidence here, right? In Dallas, defending a drag queen story hour for children where he was allegedly armed. You know their tactics. You know their training. And we're going to show you a little piece of that. I'm going to
both need to shoot at something or in a direction. We want to make sure we do it safely, right? We don't want to be shooting behind each other and accidentally shoot each other. It's way easier to do friendly fire because this is such a big space, right? Whatever you're aiming at is way down there. It's a much smaller area. There's way fewer angles to it. There's a ton of angles to your buddy here, right? So there's two main ways to avoid that, which are both basically don't shoot from behind each other, okay? So the first way is fire before flesh. If you're in a compressed area where you're starting out right next to each other, you need to shoot immediately. If we're fighting, and when we're fighting, we're both going to yell contact, right? So let's just say we're fighting in that direction. Contact! Right? So here we're touching, and our...
This look familiar? If you've ever taken a carbine class with me, these are the same tactics that we teach, right? So when you go to say that these guys are just a bunch of buffoons that don't know what they're doing, they're getting the same level training that a lot of these top-notch instructors, not that I'm a top-notch instructor, but that a lot of top-notch instructors are training out there. And this guy's a former Marine. He knows a little bit about what he's talking about. Let's continue.
Muzzles are in front of our whole bodies, right? Even back here is no good, because you could accidentally shoot each other's hands, right? Muzzle in front of bodies. This is the only time where it's appropriate to chicken wing, okay? Chicken winging means you're sticking your elbow out. Normally,
if you've ever taken a class with Emery, you know what a damn chicken wing is, okay? Same kind of training, guys, same kind of training.
You don't want to be doing that. But if you're body to body with someone, you want body contact here, so that if they move to the right, they're moving with me. Okay, they're not crossing in front of me. So that is fire before flesh. That's for compressed spaces, or if you're starting right next to each other. If we are, move right there, right? If we're further apart, that's still, that is our front. Contact front! Contact front! Right, this is called getting online. Getting online means we are in a line, right? Neither one of us is firing from behind each other. Once we're online, move to your right.
Now, if you've taken my carbine class, again, getting online, I don't call it that. I call it earning the shot. You have to get up there and earn the shot. You have to earn the right to take the shot. You can never take that shot from behind your battle buddy, right? You have to get up to earn the shot. That means getting online. We've seen this before.
Right? They're going to run into me. They're not going to run in front of me. Does that make sense? Okay. When we need to move around each other, obviously we're going to avoid muzzling each other. This is when your safety manipulation really comes into play, right? So once again, when your safety's on, when you're down, your thumb is up. Okay, when that gun comes up, you flip the safety.
Fill the void there for a minute. I'll be right back. We had a bear walk through the.
While Peter is going bear hunting, I'll fill the void. But yeah, guys, this guy, there's nothing definitive as what his MOS was, but all Marines are trained to be a rifleman first. So this is their core stuff that they learn how to do. It's just, but I'll agree with Pete. You know, a lot of the stuff that he's teaching is stuff that I've learned and stuff that I've taught over the years. But it would evidently that bear was over at Brianna's bedroom the other morning. So is it gone?
He didn't want no smoke.
He didn't want no smoke.
No, he didn't want none of this. All right, back to it. Sorry, folks. Back at it. All right, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. The bear problems we're having up here. Okay, so earning the shot. Right now he's talking about trigger manipulation as well as the importance of safety.
Safety off, your thumb comes down. When the gun comes down, safety goes back on, thumb goes back up, right? Off safety, back onto safety as you come down. Okay? So go ahead and present that way. Okay? Moving! Behind you. Back up. Right? So what I'm doing here, I'm putting my muzzle down. I'm not muzzling my friend. I'm putting my safety on as the gun comes down. Moving back around, gun comes up, muzzle before flesh, safety back on. Moving, safety on, muzzle down, up, safety off. Does that make sense? So you can go to either straight down or straight up, right?
There you go, guys. So there was a lot going on in that video. But a couple of things that I did see, the way the guy was driving the rifle out and then back into his shoulder, he's got skills. The guy's got skills. This is the gentleman that attacked ICE agents allegedly the other night and is currently wanted by the FBI. So let's bring Mr. Russ in again. Sorry, Russ.
It is what it is, brother. That's why I'm in the background to fill the void due to unnecessary technical and or I guess natural mishaps.
Yeah, it never fails up here in the Northwoods. That they've been coming around a lot, and that was actually a different one than it was out here the other day. So
about him here in the campground. We had a small cub, and we've seen one on the road going through right away down to Shortcut, and then we saw one in the campground over in the cul-de-sac just before you get to my site.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm not sure that Daisy didn't hear or hear one last night, you know, when we went to bed.
Yeah, so they're definitely out. I don't know if it's breeding season or what, but they are out. I got baby girl here with me this week, which I'm excited about. She got to feel the full effect of the Red Rock on a Tuesday night, so she handled herself really good. And then we did a little bit of UTV riding, so very, very, very cool. Thank you. Who just gifted a whole bunch of subscriptions? Looks like Will gifted a subscription to the community. Thank you very much for that. Well, you didn't have to do that. Hobby's in the house. Yeah. Go ahead, Russ. You have some?
Yeah.
You got microphone is toast. So yeah, we ended up having to a jet or no fib. I always, since these animals been coming to my back window so often, I always have my toys sitting next to me. You just never know. Oh, that's why, because he hit that noise button and now look, he broke everything. Good job, Russ.
I'm back now. But no, Mike was saying that I needed one of those little noisemaker boards, and I have one. So the next time we have a bear, I'm going to just do this one.
Exactly. No, it's not the same type of. It's not the same type of nuzzling, Kelly. These are different.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of good stuff. What have you been up to over there at Summit Lake, Mr. Russ? I haven't seen you in a couple of days.
Yeah, I'm just busy, just working. You know, the Broken Spokes website is up and running.
Very
Um,
cool.
and hopefully that'll push me some business this way. But we've just been kind of relaxing, still working on the book that I'm working on.
Hmm.
Doing I guess you can consider what I'm doing a little bit of prepping, but we'll get into that once we get down to that section. But other than that, just been following the news, man, and it's just we've had just there's just so much crap going on. You
There
know,
is.
we
There
talked
is.
about,
Go ahead.
you know, in your monologue, you talked about this Song guy, Benjamin Song, and then you also had the ones that happened down in Texas. The shooting happened down in Texas. Then you have
Hmm.
flooding that happened down in Texas. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's just one thing right after the other, and you know that was a straight up ice attack down in Texas. I think we might have a video on that one.
We do. Hang tight on that real quick because I thought I saw something here I wanted to comment on. No, it wasn't. Can I pet that dog? Will, it was something else. Yeah. So this Song guy, he was the one that orchestrated, allegedly orchestrated this ice shooting over there in Texas. Look, I don't know. I don't know how many other ways I can say it. I know you guys are listening to me, but I'm talking about just the preparedness community in general. When everybody says, "Look, I'm just going to wait till they get kinetic. I'm going to wait." How many times have you heard that? Guys, they've been getting kinetic. They've been getting kinetic. Okay, the only ones not doing that is us. And sooner or later, it's going to smack us in the face. I'm not saying go out and do anything stupid. I get it. Don't do that. But I'm telling you, you better be prepared because it's coming to a nice little neighborhood near you at some point. So get ready.
Yeah,
I'm going to get with Will says he's going to get with Fib and get some PVS 14s.
yeah. I mean, you need to be prepared. You have to, with the way the state of the world is going. You know, you and I talked about it a little bit offline, and NC Scout posted that diagram that shows the stages of a revolution. We're up toward the top, folks. This is the type of stuff that they talk about with military or paramilitary action.
It's guerrilla warfare. We're seeing right now is guerrilla warfare. There's no other way to say it. They've planned an attack. They've ambushed agents. They were well armed, well equipped, and well funded. I don't know at what point we need to stop turning the proverbial cheek, Russ. I don't know how many times we need to do that, right? But something is going to snap at one point. So Russ, let's pop this ice attacks video, and then just a reminder, everybody, we're going to go through the news, and then we're going off to Kick. So if you don't know how to get on Kick, you better figure it out because there's going to be a call in, and we're going to go through the Amazon Prime preps of the week. And that should start rolling through the chat too, so you guys can just click on the links. But we're going to go through each one. I got 5 or 6 little items. Well, let's do ice right now and see what we're talking about here.
I'll run it. There you go.
For us this afternoon. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Martha, this is still an active investigation led by the FBI after yet another attack on federal agents involved in immigration enforcement. The attacker opened fire early this morning outside a Border Patrol annex in McAllen in what Fox is told was clearly a planned ambush. Border Patrol agents and local police returned fire, hitting and killing the shooter, who was armed with an assault rifle.
There were many dozens of rounds fired by the suspect towards the building and towards agents in that building.
The Border Patrol facility was left riddled with bullet holes. One McAllen police officer was hit in the knee by either a bullet or shrapnel. Police identified the shooter as Ryan Lewis Mosqueda, 27 years old, with links to Texas and Michigan. The McAllen attack follows 2 violent incidents at ICE facilities. On July 4th in Alvarado, Texas, a police officer was shot in the neck after several people opened fire on officers outside the Prairieland Detention Center. The officer was treated and released. And there was also another attack on an ICE facility in Portland, Oregon, Friday night, a facility that has been the site of an ongoing protest for several weeks.
We're pulling agents off of regular duties now to harden our securities at our facility to make sure that we're on a heightened state of alert in order to prevent these attacks from continuing. And these are pulling those agents off of what they should be doing, which is out enforcing the law.
All of these attacks, Martha, remain under investigation tonight.
I'm not sure how much investigation they need to do other than finding out who was involved otherwise. And this guy who's wanted by the FBI, they're hiding him. They're hiding him. You don't just leave the scene like that and stay gone for 2 or 3 days, unless you're Birchwood Bob up here. He apparently is able to do that. But
I haven't seen him yet this year.
no, he numerous times. Opie, you're in, buddy.
Yeah, he says not being able to see it, I guess. So I don't know.
Oh, his chat's working.
Yeah.
Yeah, Finch. It's an AR, semi-automatic. But now the one guy did have a binary trigger, according to news reports. That one of them had a binary trigger, which is another story. But we won't get into that.
They're just trying to switch the narrative.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what they're trying to do. So that's it. Look, I don't know. Look, Russ, how many times do we need to remind everybody? Look, if you're watching this, if you're not on Kick, if you're not on YouTube, if you're not watching us live, I've been telling you that this was going to get amped up this summer. They're using this whole illegal immigration deportation as a catalyst to get involved. It didn't matter if Trump stepped on a freaking squirrel. They would all of a sudden be fighting for squirrel rights, okay? They don't care. That's not what they care about. They're anarchists, right? So here we are.
You know, I mean, they even, when you're talking about that, they even tried to blame the flooding down in Texas and New Mexico on Trump. I mean, it blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind.
They're gonna blame Trump for everything. And again, I'm not a huge Trump fan per se, but his policies are right for America. So that's a good segue now, because everybody's talking. The Facebook and X is lit up with the whole Epstein Trump thing, right? And Trump's stance on it. And I want to hear everyone's opinion on that. Because it is important, and don't forget we are going to do a call-in segment once we get to Kick. So I want to know what you guys think. Let's roll that video, and then I'm going to tell you my stance on it. Yeah.
Tense exchange at the White House. President Trump becoming defensive when asked about his administration's handling of the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Well, plenty are. The exchange follows confusion over a government memo that said that Epstein did not have a client list, despite the fact that Attorney General Pam Bondi said that she had a client list in her possession earlier this year. She's now saying that she had a file on Epstein and not a client list. Bondi also talked about this jailhouse video. It jumps a minute from 11:58 to midnight. That has also sparked questions. Bondi said the video system resets nightly, erasing the same minute every night.
So let's time frame this one up a little bit, Russ. So Pam Bondi was asked about the file, and the reporter did ask about the list, and she said that file, that is on my desk right now. I do believe that she meant the entire file was on her desk. Now here's the crux of it all. He's losing support because you said you're going to release this thing. Release it, okay? And I don't think he's on it, Russ. You know why I don't think he's on it? Do you think he's on it, first of all?
No,
Trump.
I don't. I honestly don't. I don't believe he is. I believe there are enough people, and you and I talked about this the other night. Actually, we talked about it. I believe it was at Red Rock before the bourbon kicked in. I believe there are enough people on both sides that it might wipe out Congress.
Well, and let's throw this out there, and this is not factual, right? But it is a plausible scenario. But let's back up. Let's say, okay, everyone says Trump is on the list. They impeached the man. They indicted him on 40 plus crimes. They raided his house. They tried to put him in prison, and then they tried to murder him in Butler and Pennsylvania. If they had information that he was on that list, don't you think the last 4 years they would have put that son of a bitch out?
Absolutely.
100%. Now, with Trump aside, do I think there's a whole shit ton of congressional people, congressmen, and potentially women on that list? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely do. I definitely do. I think that he's doing them a favor. If he does have the list, I think he's doing them a favor right now. And maybe he's doing them a favor, guys. Think of this. Maybe he's doing them a favor because he wanted his big, beautiful bill passed. And he says, okay, let's make a deal. Now, here's another plausible scenario. What if an outside country was behind all of it? And now they're holding it over his head. Mm-hmm. And what could those outside countries be? Well, Will mentioned, why are we back to sending arms to Ukraine? Could be Ukraine. I think that this reeks of a Mossad job. I think that this reeks of Israeli intelligence. I think that Epstein could have potentially been working. Now, look, this is unsubstantiated. This is just Pete talking BS on his podcast, right? But it's a plausible scenario. It is a plausible scenario. And I think that that may be one reason why we're not seeing that. And that might be one reason why we were so happy to go ahead and bomb Iran.
Yeah, well, and Jeff said the same thing. Hollywood and government are in on it, and it was a CIA Mossad op. It's not the first CIA Mossad op that we've heard about this year, because when the gate files were released, they said in there was a possible link between the CIA and Mossad.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't put it by any government that feels like that they need something from Big Daddy America. I wouldn't put by any government, whether it be Ukraine, whether it be, look, I love the Jewish people. I love Israel. I think they should do what they got to do. I got a lot of people over there friends of mine that are fighting over there. But they've been known to do stuff like this for their country. I get it. Yeah, Jay says I sound like a conspiracy theorist. No. When stuff doesn't add up, and I think I'm a conspiracy prophet. That's what I call myself nowadays.
Hey, but you and I have talked about this at length as well. When something just doesn't sit right, it doesn't feel right, doesn't sit right, that's what we say. We're not going to pull back. We're going to say what we want to say. And again, these opinions are the opinions of myself. If it comes out of my mouth, it's my opinions and not Pete's.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing, I mean, you just put all the information out there and then let the chips fall where they may. I think there's more to this. Look, there was more to the JFK files during his first presidency, and he came out this presidency and said I couldn't release him at that time because there were people still alive that it would have affected. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, he's becoming part of the swamp. He is. He 100% is. And I don't think it's because of him. I think he wants to continue the MAGA movement far beyond him. But here's the deal. He's losing a lot of his base by making these campaign promises and not following through. And so we're going to see how this affects him coming up. First of all, we're going to see how it affects the midterms, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're going to see how it affects J.D. Vance if he happens to be the next presidential candidate. Did you see, speaking of presidential candidates, did you see the her name is black Congress lady, liberal, was speaking really ghetto about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, you're talking about Jasmine
Crockett. Yeah. Well, the liberals apparently got her all dressed up, got her hair straightened out. She's talking like a normal person. The eyelashes are gone. Because they are planning on doing something with her. They're going to see. It's a test what's going on with her right now. So,
well, her ghetto act wasn't working.
No,
because she didn't come from the ghetto. She was, private schools, the whole 9 yards growing up. She's a very articulate young woman.
Yeah, yeah, and it just depends on the room, right? What room is she in? It's like AOC. Suddenly she's got this accent, she's got a Bronx accent, or she's got a Latin accent. Like, make up your mind, right? What are you, and run with it. So yeah, and, right. Well, exactly what we're on the same. We're on the same thing. Battle Gnome, I can't disagree with you there, young man. So that's my take on the Epstein thing. That's no, look, I'm not a Trumper. I'm not a Trumper for life. I'm not, but that's my take on it. Take it or leave it. But I think we're pretty spot on with that one, Russ. I don't know.
Absolutely. But you started talking. You're talking about presidents. Can we talk about a former president?
Well, I think for our former president, I can't remember him any less than he can remember anything, like what he ate for breakfast this morning.
Yeah, exactly. And, they had to have known. They really had to have known he was that bad off. And I know there's some of the Democrats have come out saying, yeah, he was a little declined, but he was still, good enough, but.
Well, even Crockett here in a recent interview said, no, he was as sharp as ever. Now, bear in mind, I didn't see him on a day-to-day basis, but when I did see him, he was on point. That would make sense for somebody with dementia or Alzheimer. You have your ups, you have your downs, your ebbs, your flows. That makes sense. But who he can't hide that from is his doctor, Russ. Let's see what his doctor had to say.
What are they hiding? Well, we finally heard from Biden's longtime doctor, Kevin O'Connor, sort of. He appeared before the House Oversight Committee for his deposition regarding questions about President Biden's mental fitness. And we just got our hands on the video.
Were you ever told to lie about the president's health?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer.
Did you ever believe the president was unfit to execute his duties as president?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer.
Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based upon the physician's patient privilege and in reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Here to unpack this is Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt of the Judiciary Committee. Senator, I know people in the Democrat Party are saying, okay, move on. You Republicans are stuck on Biden. We got the future to deal with and current issues of the day. And your response?
We can walk and chew gum at the same time, right? We can focus on the future, but make sure something like this never happens. When I talk to real people in real America, Laura, back in Missouri, this is something that they're asking about all the time. Who is actually running the country? You've had whistleblowers come forward who said that Joe Biden got lost trying to find the bathroom in the West Wing, and who's in charge of the auto pen. And look at all the decisions President Trump's had to make in the last 2 or 3 weeks with Iran and NATO and the big beautiful bill. You need someone in full, all of their capabilities at their disposal in the Oval Office. Clearly that wasn't happening with Joe Biden, and I think we're dealing with one of the biggest scandals and one of the biggest cover-ups we've ever seen in this country.
So there you go. Now, I do not disparage anybody from taking the Fifth Amendment. I don't do it. It's an amendment. It's in our Constitution. Take it if you need to take it. But it paints a picture, right? It certainly paints a picture. Now, look, Republicans take the Fifth all the time too. Rick Scott, when he was busted for Medicaid fraud, he took the Fifth 400 times during his testimonies. So it's his constitutional right. Take the Fifth. Yeah. But at some point, Russ, what he's going to do is they're going to say this is going to become a criminal investigation, and you're on the hook. Now, do you want to testify truthfully? Or do you want to go down with the administration? And this is what's going to happen. And this guy's going to sing like a freaking songbird.
Oh yeah, I think so too. He does. He does have the doctor-client privilege, but what we're dealing with is stuff that's in the interest of national security, and they've already proven it that. When it comes to stuff that involve national security, that national security trumps a lot of shit.
Well, and it also it does in the case of a HIPAA violation also. So that's one of the criteria that can allow you to break the HIPAA oath. So
You would know that
yeah,
having with your
No.
former job.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and it's one of those things. Let me go through a little bit of chat here because I know you start up a bunch.
Yeah,
I'm going to leave that one from Larry for later.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's talking about those Antifa terrorists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same thing with Patrick over there, my Michigan guy.
Oh yeah,
it's full of them. And apparently this guy had some ties to Michigan. So let's see here.
Take a long weekend and come see us.
I know. Well, we'll just have to drive up to the UP. I got to make a trip up there anyway. There's also coordinated attack. Nick, before you left, Nick, I hope you're feeling better. But he says that they are trying to coordinate attacks on critical infrastructure, including weather radars, just in time for hurricane season. So then they'll blame that. Here's the deal. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to say, well, you took away so much money out of NOAA that we couldn't keep that. No, you're terrorists. That's what you people do. Stop.
Well, and they already tried that. They tried that with the stuff down in Texas, the flooding down in Texas. They said, well, you know, if they hadn't cut the budget on it, this wouldn't have happened. Well, the budget hadn't been cut yet.
Right.
It hadn't gone into effect yet. And then they had the Swift boats down there, one of the best Swift boat folks down there, and they were held back for 2 days before they were allowed to go.
Yeah, it's look, it's the same thing. Look, we talk about this all the time. You're your own first responder, guys. No one's coming to save you. I told you the time I was training with those Israeli guys, they go, I was stressed out about something, and the instructor comes up to me, and it was a long training session, and he goes, Peter, what are you worried about? I go, I'm spilling my guts to him. He goes, you're alone. You're alone. No one's coming to help you. Figure it out. Okay, that's same way. Will wants to know, why are we sending weapons over to Ukraine? We're sending Patriot missile batteries over there because Putin is failing to negotiate with Donald Trump. So that is why. And as soon as Donald Trump said that he was going to go ahead and send those Patriot missile batteries over there, Putin sent over like 700 drones or 400 drones that night to attack Ukraine. So that's why we're sending. Now, I wonder, Russ, if we're making them pay for these.
We'll say that one more time.
I wonder if the United States is making the Ukrainian government pay for these Patriot missile batteries.
Well, the last time we were talking about little Napoleon over there in Ukraine, it was said that he was willing to pay for it, or at least the EU was going to pay for it. So that's probably the case. So that would be my guess.
I would hope so. I mean, because that's another promise not kept by this administration. Let's see.
Well, Opie asked as always, he asked his question, what are we drinking tonight?
This is Woodford Reserve Double Oak, my last of the bottle. And I'm still waiting for that sponsorship from Woodford Reserve. So
I just opened a new bottle of Double Oak today. And
email them often.
Yes. And we've gotten how many bars carrying it for us up here now?
Well, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. We had to basically bootleg it in for them, allegedly. Let's see what else we got. I'm just looking through chat, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Jeff was saying he's responding back to me in regards to it was the Austin fire chief that held back the water rescue guys.
Yeah,
but I did check in with Texas Tony. He was actually up in Michigan over the weekend visiting his son. They had a little bit of flooding, but the distillery is okay.
Perfect. That's what counts, son. I agree, Opie. They should be throwing at least some swag or something.
As much of it as we drink.
Exactly. You know, we had talked earlier a little bit, Russ, about the IDF, and we talked about the Israeli government and stuff like that. There are two things that have hit the news wire this week. First of all was the British imam that basically said that, look, we've just about taken over Europe, and the United States better learn to become Muslim. Okay, I don't have a clip for that, but it's I'll pull that. But I do have a clip that I meant to get to last week about some of the anti-Semitic sentiment that's going on in the UK. And this is from a gentleman. His name is Bob Villain. Apparently he's a reggae or a rapper or something or other. But let's see what he has to say.
Controversial punk duo Bob Villain have lashed out on social media today after experiencing dire repercussions from their appalling anti-Semitic display at Glastonbury Music Festival.
Free, free! Free, free! Alright, but have you heard this one though? Death, death to the IDF! 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 To the IDF! Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah.
Following the downright offensive set, the duo found themselves in a world of trouble across 2 continents, with the US government cancelling their visa, leading to the cancellation of their tour later this year.
And since this came out, he's been on social media whining about how he's being blacklisted. They've canceled the tour here in the United States. Obviously, Britain, UK is finally talking about prosecuting him for some criminal charges. Look, if you put out a nasty meme in the UK right now, you're going to jail. But this guy can say death to the IDF and not serve any have any consequences for that. So, but a typical liberal scumbag, right? This guy, he's now all of a sudden he's the victim. No, you weren't the victim when you were saying death to the IDF, tough guy.
And he was probably doing it. All he was doing it for is just, to get the crowd into it. And, he's catering to his audience like a lot of entertainers do. And that's fine. It's freedom of speech. But, hey, there is some consequences.
Yeah, I can't because we're still on communist news networks here and stuff like that. I can't
show that one.
Put out what that'll known put up, but we'll save that one. I'm going to star that one for once we get over on Kick. And then I also saw that they were talking about some of the parts of Ukraine were actually the 3 provinces of the Ukraine that were actually historically under Russian control, right? And then how basically NATO screwed Russia because they said, okay, look, we'll lay off. We're gonna lay off. Just keep your missile batteries away from the borders. And what did they do? They pulled them right up next to the border. So I believe that was a Bill Clinton deal. So,
well, it is. We are at 8:42, Peter. I think it's time for a quick pause for the cause, and we'll head on over to Just Kick. What do you think?
Okay, and then remind me to address Kelly's comment here once we get over here. Quick intermission, guys, and then we're going to look, you guys voted for it. You wanted it. We're going to go over to Kick, and we're going to finish out the show there. We'll do a call-in if anybody wants to call in, and then we're going to go over the prime preps of the week. Got to get rid of you, Russ. Bloop.